Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast. We're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast that brings you topical and relevant Packers news along with our most humble, subjective opinions. This is episode 244. We're recording this on a Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. The Packers lose coming off the bye to the Broncos in Denver in Week 7. Tough times for now the Pack as they prepare for the Vikings on Sunday at home, high noon. I'm your host, Tay, and joining me on the comms tonight is our one and only
Ren. What up, Tay? How you doing on a Tuesday night? Nice and warm and rainy outside here in northeast Wisconsin.
It is warm, strangely, and it is raining very heavily. I don't know. You almost wish maybe the Pack had some inclement weather to even the odds or something. You know, some mud on the field or slipping and sliding, some snow. I don't know. Maybe Ren, that'll be the weather will actually come into play here and give the Packers an edge maybe when teams come to Lambeau. I don't think we're going to see anything on this coming Sunday, but maybe that will be a wild card for us. But yeah, it's raining here and it's kind of warm, so that's strange. But I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing okay, Tay. Obviously, when we're talking about Green Bay Packer football, I mean we're both feeling pretty crappy. I mean the way this thing is trended over the last many weeks now with, 2 football games played in essentially 3.5 weeks. Not a lot of good feels coming out of northeast Wisconsin when it comes to this new look Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers football team today.
Yeah. I mean, this the team basically ran. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no mincing words. This team is not good right now. And gone are the, well, maybe, or we'll sees, like this team they have to prove it now. And that's the bottom line. There's no gimmies anymore. There's no let's see how this rolls out. There's possibilities. There's, maybe we're not seeing the full Matt LaFleur offense yet. It's like, no. All that crap, just crinkle it up, throw that out the window. This team has baselined now, and this is where we're at. We're kind of at the bottom looking up, and I'm fully, I guess, aware of that now. For a while I was like, well, there's stuff happening. I mean, if you want to play the there's all these injuries and we don't have our starting 22 out there, you could try that, but that's not really what's happening here either. I think it's a contribution to a degree, but at the end of the day, they can't seem to perform, they can't seem to execute, and I think I have resolved myself into thinking that all those days of maybe we have to get this thing up and running are gone, right, Ren?
I don't know. I mean, started off obviously with those 2 games against the Falcons and the Bears, and granted they did not beat the Falcons when they should have. Everything looked kind of good. I mean, you were kind of looking at this team from the long lens that hey, maybe they could push for a 10-7 season, squeak it in the playoffs potentially with that, now that there are 7 teams that get in. And it's really started to fall away in so many levels of this football team, be it pick on Joe Barry, be it pick on, the inability for guys that they pay a lot of money like Jair Alexander not making plays, to Jordan Love just throwing awful deep balls with not a lot of arm on it, to the non-Aaron Jones availability most of the season, young wide receivers not able to run routes or do a whole lot, this just poor Matt LaFleur early play calling where these guys don't put up any points and the first half generally ever anymore. There's so many things to pick on. It's just a dumpster fire of problems that the Green Bay Packers find themselves in at this point. I mean, it's getting louder every week, Tay, because Matt LaFleur does not seem to be adjusting or doing things to put his young team in position to win. They seem unprepared. The receivers don't seem to know where to be. It just seems like generally from a coaching staff standpoint that, somebody mentioned it this week that it was talked about, on the mic with some of the broadcasters, one of them a former player, that, this team has just kind of a whole home coaching staff. And what would you expect when they've got a coaching staff like that? When you start to hear that on broadcast live, Tay, you start to really wonder where this team is and where this team is going to go. Obviously, a four-time MVP, future Hall of Famer, worked with the coach to design plays and do a lot of things, and they worked on that offense together. And Aaron was obviously super cerebral, super smart. We know that, but able to check out of plays if he saw something, that maybe the defense is showing them. Where I don't believe Jordan has any of that ability. That hey, here's the check down out of this look. If it doesn't look right, I'm going to go to a run play here, or vice versa. It just seems like nobody knows what to do, when to do it, and it's not a good thing. How are you feeling, Tay, after kind of watching the last 4 games? How are you feeling about Matt LaFleur as a head coach? Because I know it's getting loud out there with Matt, and everybody called him an offensive genius for a while, but we haven't really seen things, especially with this young team, that gives you a lot of confidence that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. Is does he know what he's doing? I guess yes, I would say so. He knows what he's supposed to be doing, or he thinks he's supposed to be doing. He runs, a organization here, and he's been doing it for 4 years now. So you got to think he knows what he's doing. But is it effective? Like, it doesn't seem to be effective. Like I'll get into his press conference, which he had yesterday. That's the one I want to reference here in a minute. But he talked about, when we called the play, the defense was not in a personnel we thought they were going to be in. They kept all the guys out there. They didn't change anybody out. So now we're at the line, and we're still calling the play what we called. We're not making any adjustments or anything. So I think you're right. Like does Jordan have the ability to say, wait a minute, like something's not right here. We're about to hike the ball and something's not right, but they do it anyway. Matt doesn't call a timeout. He doesn't want to adjust. Like, I guess he's admitting that, like, the defense is in a personnel that we didn't expect for the play we just called. So I don't know. To me, you'd be like, okay, let's try to adjust here. So it's strange that you almost see these things let happen by the coach, and you kind of wonder. But yeah, I mean, I like Matt LaFleur as a guy and a person. Excuse me, but it doesn't seem to be too rough with the team or very adamant, and he's maybe doesn't garner this tough policy, my way or the highway kind of thing that maybe this team needs to kind of bounce out of this. I think he's genuinely, like, he conveys this genuine, like, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, this is on me kind of demeanor he had yesterday in his press conference when the media was able to here in Green Bay ask him questions. And I watched his body language, I listened to the press conference, and I do believe that he's like upset. He's like not happy with what's happening, and it's I don't know. It's hard, but obviously it's not working, or we don't see the effects of maybe good coaching or good preparation or good discipline, right? Like, there's always seemed to be someone not doing their job, or they don't have, either have correct information, or they're going off on their own, or they're just not where they're supposed to be. he talks about his process. Matt LaFleur, we have a process, and we go through those things, and it's just like we've heard that for 4 years, and for a while you bought it because Aaron was here and whatever, but now you're hearing, well, we have our process, and we're self scouting during the bye week and all this stuff, and you're like, okay, well, that's coach speak, and like that's clearly not working, so you're not answering any of these questions we have for you. He talks about the game's coming down to a few plays at the end of the game, and you have to find a way to make those plays. And so let's take, for instance, this last one here in the Bronco game where Jordan throws the interception to end the game, and he's got basically 2 more plays to try to get in field goal range. And Jordan Love in his presser after the game admitted no, he didn't see that safety, and the safety made a good play, and that's the look we were looking for the defense, and we were going to do it. And it was like he was so confident and so adamant that was, that's what we were supposed to do. And yeah, the guy just made a good play, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, it looked to us like you were trying to force it in there, but we're sitting in our armchairs, being quarterbacks. But back to LaFleur, he's saying that he sees the team show some flashes from time to time. We saw it in the third quarter where the team comes on and but then they just can't finish the game. Like the offense sputters out. LaFleur says if we hold any team to under 20 points, he expects to win the game. And it's so true. Like that's a great bar to set, but clearly he's admitting that the offense has tons of struggles. They can't get it done. There are tons of issues there. So, from his perspective, he's like, wow, we just got to bounce back from this adversity. And what I see in the locker room is positive. There's no one, panicking. It's all just whatever. But the fan base is freaking out because we want to see some results. And I don't know if we're going to see it. I guess I want to warn Packer Universe that you can't expect too much then, I think, this year, the way things are going. We might take a turn. We might see something develop where you're like, okay, they're not making the mistakes. They're executing correctly. They might lose games, but at least you're not losing to situations where that could have been prevented. So we'll see. I mean, Matt LaFleur says that locker room and those coaching that coaching staff is still positive in the face of adversity, Ren. But are you?
I mean, Tay, when you're talking about Matt LaFleur in a press conference, he's saying we have a process, and prior to that, you referred to him talking about a situation where the defense comes out in a look they didn't expect them to be in. Okay, well, where's your process, Matt, for, okay, you see this thing here, you don't want to burn a timeout. Shouldn't there be a process where you do have a check out of said play with your starting quarterback who's been there for 3 years in your system? He can go to a different look, and that can be done by a hand signal. It can be done. Do the helmets still not, do they still have the little microphone in them? I mean,
up until 15 seconds. Once 15, the clock gets to 15 seconds.
Right.
No,
but then don't you have hand signals and
right?
And you're looking to the sideline and something's coming in, and you can change that, because that's a problem, man. I mean, if you were so one dimensional that suddenly they give you a look and you have no answer for it to change a play, that tells me, as a coaching staff and Matt LaFleur with your young quarterback, that you guys are wholly unprepared, because that's not going to happen just once in a game. My guess is it's going to happen quite a bit.
Yeah, multiple.
And it's going to happen throughout the course of the season. So how are you not in position to, be in film rooms with, who is your new leader of the team, to say, hey, okay, we're running into these situations, so how do we deal with this? And how do we make this work? I mean, this guy is supposed to be an offensive mind, Tay. And you would think he would have all sorts of different ways to say, hey, okay, you see this. I get it. in his mind, this is not Aaron Rodgers who's going to say and do X, Y, or Z. But you can say, okay, well, here's our check out of this in a situation where we don't expect something, or here are two options to go from there. You would think there'd be at least that. Shift your personnel that's out on the field and go to X. And there's none of that. And that leads me to believe that Matt and the issues, even with the players is it's bigger than we're all thinking. And that's a concern of mine, Tay, is that they just seem like they're wholly dysfunctional from a player standpoint, a coaching standpoint, and everything out there. I mean, you start to hear things the last 2 days that, Joe Barry comes down from the booth at halftime and they switch stuff up, and the defense is like, and one of the defenders who spoke to a media source, the defender went unnamed because he doesn't, want to, cause rifts. But, obviously the defense, hey, listen, they did a heck of a job in the first half in the sense that the Packers couldn't do anything. I mean, the first 3 drives they punt. On the one, they actually were able to move the ball. Unfortunately, Anders Carlson misses his first kick of the season. But, they held this football team to 9 points, and you go in the half down 9-0. You're in the ball game. And then suddenly, Joe comes and says, we're going to switch this up. And the guys are like, what are you talking about? I mean, we held our own. It seems to be working. And then they also say the other part with Barry is that, he's, just listless. There's no motion. Like that's a concern, man. I mean, you're starting to get some of this backroom, locker room talk that, guys are, when you start to hear things like that, it starts telling you the locker room's starting to split, and that's not a good thing. And maybe it's just on Barry at this point, but it could go a lot of directions from here.
Yeah, I would almost venture to say that locker room is one. I think that locker room is so young and so in and around the same age group, and have been, pretty much been together all training camp. I bet you they totally have each other's back. I bet you that locker room, there isn't too much split. I think the split you'd get is maybe from the veterans, maybe, but I don't even know if that would even happen. So yeah, I think it's players versus coaches, and that's definitely an issue when they're supposed to be listening and taking guidance from the coaches. So yeah, I don't know. You do see some I don't know, dysfunction going on, and you kind of wonder, because it's been a long time since we've had kind of like a just an overwhelming, obvious dysfunction in that locker room, and I don't think we're used to that. So I think that's I struggle with identifying and admitting that. But yeah, maybe like you said, it's possible we're getting there, and I think obviously wins would help, right? If we went down to that field and we scored Anders Carlson kicked a field goal, and won the game for us. I mean, what would we be talking about right now? Would we be coming down as hard as we are now on them? Probably not, because we got a dub, but I don't know. Something does need to happen, and I think maybe it says. I think I've seen a few people kind of throw this out, but like just let the offense loose. Like maybe Matt is so dialed into what his game plan is and the plays that he's picked out, and he's just over consumed with running what he wants and what he thinks the team needs, that his players are so pushed into conformity that they don't have a lot of room to be themselves. So I've seen that put out there, and I think yeah, sure, why not? Like this Sunday against the Vikings, who cares? Like, let's let it rip. Like, what do you got? What do you have to lose right now? I mean, you're on a losing streak anyway, and you need something to turn this around. So why not give the players a little bit of a longer leash and let Jordan call those different plays at the line and say, hey, go out there and have some fun and win this football game. I kind of am hoping that is the case. I don't know if we'll ever know if that actually takes place or not. Maybe the players would, admit that as much, but wouldn't that be nice, Ren, if we could just be like, all right, you guys, you're out of the baby seat, and you guys can just run wild.
Yeah, just go play football. I mean, at this point, why not say? I mean, we know that they're looking at the schedule upcoming, and then throughout the rest of the year, there's not a lot of plausible wins when you can't beat teams like the Broncos and the Raiders. Let your kids go play, because that's what they are. They're kids, and make mistakes, but let them dictate a lot of things. Maybe give Jordan the ability to, if something doesn't look right, hey, here's a check out of that. You've been here 3 years. You heard Aaron do this stuff. You've seen it. So if you feel like this isn't something we would do, get out of it and change the play and see what you can do. Yeah. Because, I mean, at this point, what do you have to lose? So, I mean, it's just, it's troubling, from so many different aspects. I mean, the young wide receivers too. Watson leaves with injury. We don't know how long he's gone. Obviously, Savage is going to be out for a number of weeks, re-aggravating that injury. I mean, you're the number one wide receiver in the game, Tay, with pass catching was A.J. Dillon, actually, with 34 yards receiving. That's not good, Tay. That's not who should be on that stat. And it can be anybody, really, but it just tells you how woeful this team is in so many respects. And let's be honest, I mean, against the Raiders and the Broncos, it was the defense, not the offense, that kept them in the game enough. And not to say that they played in spectacular fashion, because the defense on Sunday had no turnovers. They had 1 sack of Russell Wilson. They left a lot to be desired as well. But, hey, at least they're saying, we're going to give you an opportunity to a point, but the Packers, they're slow starts too. And Jordan, he's done this since he's been the guy. I mean, he's such a slow starter. I don't know what you have to maybe take that, scripted, 15, 20 plays they do to start the game and throw that out the window. Stop scripting the games and, just run what you see the defense giving you and do something different, because whatever they're doing, Tay, it doesn't work, and it doesn't work in a wildly, offensive, not offensive like offense, but offensive fashion for the Packers. It's bad.
Yeah, like if they were doing the 15 play scripted, that would be only 5 3-and-outs in a row, Ren, and then then it's like, oh well, I guess we should change that up. When you look at this team critically, which everyone is doing right now, I still firmly believe there's tons of issues on the team, from coaching staff to players' performance. But one thing I will still it will still remain for me for probably the remainder of the year, is I think the clock is ticking on Jordan for the fans, but I don't think it's ticking for the front office. I think the front office is going with Jordan this year and most likely next year, regardless. When it's been brought up this week on social media all over the board about the dead money from Aaron Rodgers, and if you top that off with David Bakhtiari's $20 million, it's like $80 million. The Packers don't have this year to potentially have made moves to get players in or whatever you want to do. So clearly we're just stuck with what we have here. I don't see them making any drastic moves because they need to figure out what they have now. And maybe that's their shift in focus is to, all right, we have Jordan. We have some, issues around him. So we're not going to move on Jordan because unless that becomes a huge, significant problem on its own, we're not going to make any changes like that. So I think they're going to use what they have. The core Packer team is here to stay for a little while. I think they're going to try to work out the kinks and see what they have in these players. And guys like Wicks, Tay Wicks and Jaden Reed, Dobbs, those guys are going to continue to rise. Musgrave, I think he rises a little bit too. But other guys, I mean, who knows with Watson what's going to happen now? But I think the core of this Packers is going to remain. They're going to remain on the field every week to either struggle or show some promise. So I think that's what we have to get used to. We have to lower your expectations again, and just ride this out.
Well, isn't that the thing, Tay? I mean, so many people said that this was going to be a kind of throwaway year in the sense of throw the records out the window, not Super Bowl aspirations, etc. But and I get it. Jordan deserves the whole year, but he's been there enough time to have all of us question some of his abilities. That arm talent doesn't seem to be there at all. I haven't seen a pretty deep ball once this year from him that you go, wow, that's 30 yards downfield on a dime. He doesn't seem to be able to throw that pass. That said, I think he deserves the year to show what he has or hasn't. We did have the meddlers say, 7-8 weeks in, we should have a good idea what Jordan is. You did that in the offseason, Tay. How are you feeling about how are you feeling about number 10 right now, Tay? And what kind of leash would you give him?
It's hard to say because it's kind of like what we just talked about. Like, is he going with the play that Matt calls up regardless? Does he have what kind of length of leash does he have? His stats are pretty bad, and they're not great. I think it's like 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, something like that. Let me just bring it up here quick. So yeah, it's 10 TDs, 7 interceptions. His QB rating is 79.4. He's got a 57.5 pass completion percentage. He's 111 out of 193 attempts. It's like 210 yards, average yards per game. It's not good. This, I guess you could look at that. If they were winning, we would say, oh, he's a game manager. Good job, Jordan. Way to go. Like, we need you as a stopgap until we can get someone else. But now that we're losing, it seems like it's a bigger effect. And yeah, I don't like what he's doing with his passing. I just don't know. I like most of the time when he's throwing deep balls, now you're gasping. You're wondering if it's going to be in double, triple coverage, and you're not seeing that good production down the field. You're seeing balls short. You're not seeing them like if a lot of those plays, a lot of those deep balls, a lot of them that have been intercepted were overthrown, I would be totally fine with it. Oh, he overthrew them. Okay, that's fine. But these are short. These are balls that the receivers have to try to fight for, which they're not, and they're short enough for the defense to react to intercept them. So that's bad. Like, that's a recipe for disaster. There's no way to kind of combat that if you're doing that sort of thing. So I don't like Jordan's play right now. Again, it's not all on him, but yeah, he would be getting like a grade D plus right now. And we need to see better play out of him, like we saw in week 1 where he looked amazing. But that again was against the Bears, and maybe 7 weeks now into the NFL season, this is more reality than week 1 was. And yeah, I need to see more. We all need to see more from Jordan. He needs to do a better job.
Before we get into the Vikings today, we're just talking about Jordan. Again, we don't see a lot of W's on the table here for this football team. Things could change, but it's not looking good. I mean, if they're a top 5, top 3 pick, and a guy like Drake May, second rated quarterback probably coming out of this draft is there, would you as an armchair GM say, listen, Jordan played pretty bad all year. I'm willing to give him a shot. I'm not going to go with the other young quarterback. Or would you say, you know what? I've seen enough. He's been in the system for, now 4 years, 3 on the bench, and he just isn't there. How would you handle that?
It's a tough one. I mean, you can look around the league right now and see a couple situations where a bench warmer has livened things up. You look down at the Texans, right? CJ Stroud is doing some good things down there, and he's a rookie, and he doesn't have what we think is a good team. So, okay, how do you explain that? And then you look even, I hate to say it, Ren, look to Chicago. They had that Tyson, Bagant in?
Bagent.
Mr. Frodo Bagans?
He's a rookie out of I believe a D2 or D3 school today.
But
his stats weren't off the charts.
No, but you saw the energy, right?
They did beat the Raiders when Jordan Love couldn't.
Yeah. See? So you see that happen and you're like, well, maybe some fresh blood, maybe some change of pace would help your team out. So if I'm a GM and we have the top one, in the top 5 picks next year, it's hard because do you see the rest of your team as okay, and you're willing to make the quarterback position the focal point again? And I think the answer is probably yes. I mean, why not?
It is literally, Tay, the most important position in all professional sports.
If we were willing to take Jordan, in the early 20s and move up to get him, a few years back, why wouldn't we want to take a high-end quarterback where, the chances are in your favor that he would work out. What you do with him, though, that's another question. But do you let him sit behind Jordan for a year, or do you end up playing him? That's a probably discussion for when that actually happens. But if
it did happen, Tay, I'd go to camp and make them both fight for the job.
Yeah, no, I think you do. I think you do pull the trigger. Why not? Again, you got to hit on a quarterback to be relevant in this league. So yeah, why not? Well, I'm assuming GM Ren would totally pull the trigger on that.
All day and on Sunday, Tay. Absolutely.
And it would be on a Thursday night this time, for sure.
Well, or Tuesday, or a Monday, or Sunday is a Saturday. It's Monday, Friday, Wednesday. I don't know what day it is, Tay, but yeah, do it on all of them.
Yeah, the draft this year in 2024 is in Detroit. So I don't know if that's like a theme then. So 2025 is in Green Bay. I think this last one, was that in KC? I can't remember.
It was. Yeah.
So was that, it's like a Midwestern thing? Are they doing it in Chicago maybe? And sticking in giving.
I think they had Chicago in 2019 or so, something like that. So
maybe they're just trying to make the rounds, give some love to the northern teams that don't normally get it. But anyway, yeah, in Detroit and then into Green Bay in 2025. So yeah, maybe we'll see quarterbacks go off the board for Green Bay in both those drafts.
Yeah, I mean, the way they're playing, they might have a lot of opportunity to do so. But let's talk. Unless you want to keep talking about this bad Denver game, because there's really not a whole lot to look at and take out of that game. I mean, they just weren't good. Obviously, they have been decent in the second half, getting themselves back into games in a number of these games. But a lot of it's been against, fair to poor competition. So it makes the task a little easier. But hey, the team coming up, Tay, we know the Vikings. We love and hate them with a passion as a Packer fan base. They're super fun to hate. They're my most fun team to hate in the NFL. But they're coming off a huge win for themselves Monday night against 2 weeks ago, the once 5-0 San Francisco 49ers, who are now 5-2 after 2 straight losses. We had our cousin Kirk just slinging it Monday night. And suddenly it looks like even without Justin Jefferson, a rejuvenated Minnesota Viking team. How are you feeling about this upcoming matchup at high noon at Lambeau on Sunday, Tay?
I don't know what to think of this. The Vikings were pretty bad until of late, so it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, they're great. They're gonna roll over the Packers. I mean, they had a decisive win against San Francisco. So was that San Fran having a bad day or Minnesota having a good day? It's kind of hard to tell. I didn't watch that game, unfortunately. Now I kind of wish I did, because the thought did occur to me as a Packers fan to watch the opponent of next game in their current week, but I didn't. But now they're 3-4. They're second in the division, only 2 games out from Detroit. So, yeah, like the Vikings are relevant in the NFC North right now for sure. Like for a while it was they were at the bottom with Chicago, but now nope. Hold the phone. You got Jordan Addison, the wide receiver, coming out strong, looking like a all pro on Monday night last night. And you got to give it to him. Like, he's performing. He's going out there and catching the ball from his veteran quarterback. So yeah, like good job. Without your main man, Justin Jefferson, it's like they almost didn't skip a step. So you got to give that to him. Could we do that? I don't know. I'd probably not. But the Vikings, yeah, I don't know what to think about them exactly. Yes, they have some playmakers on both sides of the ball, mostly offensive, of course. But I don't know. I don't really have a huge feeling about this game. Other than that, the Packers will probably lose, and I just hope that they don't lose by too much. But I don't know. You got any dope sheet facts or any comments on where you think this Vikings team is at right now, Ren?
I do have some comments, but do you know the line, Tay?
No, I do not. It's at home against the Pack, and they're coming off a strong win. So I'm gonna say it's probably Vikings' favor. Probably 4.5. I would say.
At first glance, Tay, it was the Packers still getting 1.5, Tay, -1.5 for Green Bay. At how that is somehow even. I don't know. Like Vegas usually gets it right, but I don't know if Vegas just took Monday night off and got drunk watching the Vikings win. Just said, yeah, we think it's an aberration, but crazy stuff there with the Packers still getting 1.5.
That's close.
Team gets 3, but as bad as this Green Bay Packers team has played today, how they can be favored against the Minnesota Vikings, I have no idea.
They know something we don't?
I would not be putting my money on the Green Bay Packers. Put it that way. If it came push to shove, I'd be pushing my coins in, all of them, on the Minnesota Vikings come Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That is strange. So maybe they know something that we don't know.
I'm not sure on this one, Tay, but
they have faith in J-Lo.
That 35-year-old gold chain wearing, crazy dad of the year, Kirk Cousins, he was killing it last night against the San Francisco 49ers vaunted defense, Tay, who didn't have a single sack, Mr. Cousins, Tay. I don't know what Niners issue suddenly is on that defense with all these players. I mean, they're bringing in guys still through trades. They've only gotten, more depth throughout the course of the season. And suddenly Brock Purdy, who had won every game he ever started until the last 2 weeks is suddenly coming crashing down to earth. But let me tell you, the Vikings, Tay, they're not afraid to use first-round picks on wide receivers. I mean, you
nope.
talked about the aforementioned Jordan Addison. I mean, a couple of years ago, we know the Packers wanted Justin Jefferson when he was there, and they did not get that opportunity, unfortunately, because that would have maybe changed a lot of where we're at today. I mean, maybe we're still talking Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. That's how big of a swing that may have been. But they said, you know what? Hey, we've got Jordan, we've got Justin. let's go add another supreme talent with him to make his life easier after we already acquired, a very good now veteran tight end in Hawkinson last year at the trade deadline from Detroit. And what is, hey, Jefferson's out. What does Addison go out and do? 7 for 123 Tay and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's really good stuff, and talking about the aforementioned tight end that they acquired last year, 11 for 86. I mean, so he's got targets to throw to who are competent guys who know where to be and what to do. And again, the Vikings aren't unafraid of saying, hey, we need to have, when we have a veteran quarterback here, we need to have supreme offensive playmaking talent so that he has a place to go with the football. And even when you're missing, arguably the first or second best wide receiver in the NFL, he can go out and have just a killer night against arguably probably the best team still in the NFC.
Yeah. And, the Alexander Madison, I don't know if he is like the super rusher, but, he had 8 for 39 last night. So not great. That's kind of like, AJ Dillon stats right there. So obviously they're going to be passing against us. We do have that in our favor on our defense. However, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, you're right. We talked about it a while ago on this podcast, in this episode here, about the defense actually being, holding their own for the most part of this year. And then especially, in the game on Sunday. But yeah, they're going to have their work cut out for them, in the secondary. And so with Darnell out, can Jonathan Owens step up? And, Eric Stokes was supposed to be back, but then he left. Jair, he's been, missing in action basically. So
certainly Jair's not putting up the playmaking ability that you paid him for. That's an absolute Tay. And while I said the defense is keeping the ball games, I'm not saying they're playing amazing.
Right. No.
They did give up their second most yards of the season to the Denver Broncos. I mean, let's be honest, that ain't good, Tay, when it's Denver that did that to you. Yeah. So
I think they had 13 missed tackles also tallied on Sunday afternoon. So that's not good either.
Also correct. Yes. So there are a number of issues with this Packer defense, but we know they still suck against the run. Pretty well-known commodity there that they can't do that. But they're going to have their hands full. I mean, no, the Minnesota Vikings are not a running football team at this point. They're similar to the Packers. They can't do it very well, but hey, what they do have is that veteran quarterback in Kirk Cousins, who was nearly perfect on those 10 plus air yards, going when you got more than 10 yards on the ball, 9 for 12 for 201 yards, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions, and a 156.3 passer rating. So that's where they're gonna work you all day long. They have a new defensive coordinator there in Brian Flores. We know the former head coach in Miami, with all the drama that came with that and ownership down there. But he runs a very, blitz heavy, pressure heavy defense. He's going to bring the kitchen at Jordan Love. And why wouldn't you? He's going to just throw guys at him and be like, okay, let's just get at him right now and make him make a mistake, because he doesn't have the ability to get to that second, third read. He just can't do it. So it could be a long day at the offense, at the office with Jordan under center, facing Brian Flores led defense. And that's the kind of thing, like when you're looking for a coordinator, that's kind of stuff Green Bay doesn't have. A guy that brings the juice, Tay. Now, obviously, Danielle Hunter is having just an amazing comeback year. As their premier edge rusher in Minnesota. They brought in the other Marcus Davenport, other edge rusher from New Orleans in the offseason, and those two seem to really be getting after it. So they can get after the quarterback with just those two guys. We'd like to see guys like Preston Smith once upon a time be able to do that. Really hasn't kind of, We haven't heard from Rashawn a whole lot in a couple weeks. But, the Minnesota Vikings play a very feisty version of a defense. That, along with, like I said, the offense and a veteran quarterback, I don't see how the Packers, by the fourth quarter aren't down by 2 scores.
Yeah. I was trying to think to myself, what points can you actually see the Packers, gaining in this game? At least 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going Packers lose 13-24. Minnesota takes the game in Lambeau. Don't forget to watch out for left defensive end Dean Lowry, former Green Bay Packer. On Sunday, he'll be in a purple uniform.
Not an uncommon thing, a washed Packer in a purple uniform, Tay. We're pretty familiar with that in these in Packer universe, over the last 15 years. But we'll say about the Minnesota Vikings before we leave today, Tay. They win in Green Bay on Sunday, and I think they will to the tune of 30-17. Woo. They'll be 4-4, and their schedule from there is the Falcons, the Saints, the Broncos, the Bears, a bye week, and the Raiders. So this team could be really getting right at the right time, and suddenly and beyond that, they still have 2 games against the Lions. So, they can make their season whatever they want it to be, and they're definitely trending in the right direction as opposed to where the Green Bay Packers are headed at this point in time.
Yeah, that part of the schedule looks like a lot of pillaging and marauding to me by the Vikings. Ren, did I hear a buzz coming from your phone? Are you getting notifications, and who are they from right now? Anybody like Packers front office or?
No, Tay, nothing interesting there with regard to that. Just
maybe Mark was talking to you like, Ren, I need to know what to do here. Do I fire Matt or not?
I am on Mark's naughty list. He did say, I've got about 1.5 games left to make my decision on Jordan Love today.
Whoa, 1.5. All right. I can handle it. All right. Well, yeah. So you've got the Packers getting smashed by the Vikings. I got the Packers getting handled by the Vikings. We will see. Packer Universe, chime in if you'd like on any social media platform that you follow us on, or send us an email, info@packeruniverse.com. We appreciate you listening, of course, through these tough times, the dark times. Ren, are we there yet? Maybe we haven't even hit rock bottom yet. Hopefully things look up from here. And even if we're losing, maybe we lose in style or good fashion at least. That's all I'm hoping for, is a respectable loss here. Can we get that against the Vikings? We will see. But again, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for supporting. Ren, if you got anything else, now's the time, and then take us out.
Not really, Tay. It's 2023, but I think it's 1989 in Green Bay, Tay. Until episode 245 on the pup list.